Welcome in to Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs from Infinity and Beyond. We are answering all your questions here on Texans Today. All these questions are from our live show on, October 8th. There we go. It's not October 1st. October 8th, that's the magic of live television. Shout out to producer Jack. Use hashtag Texans or Super Chat if you are watching our live shows. We go live every Wednesday at 3:30. And if you're live, you know why I'm wearing this bad boy. Shout out to James Gibson. Shout out to Alberto Serrato. Without further ado, let's answer your questions around the Houston Texans. All right. First up, Cody Harris. We need a tight end, maybe Darnell Washington or another from Pittsburgh. I wouldn't mind that. The only thing is Darnell Washington, I don't know if he's more of a receiving threat as he is a bigger, run blocking. And, he can catch the ball, but he's a big guy. I believe he's 6'7", 6'8", over there in Pittsburgh, and he's still on a rookie deal. So I'm not sure if the Steelers would want to give up on a guy like that already. If they're willing to trade him, for sure, but I'd be more interested in a receiving threat, to be honest. Harrison Bryant, Brendan Bates, Dalton Schultz, they're, decent blockers. Dalton Schultz is definitely more of a receiving tight end in my opinion. But for me, maybe it's not what the Texans need, but I would prefer another receiving threat at the tight end spot. I talked about earlier in the week, David Njoku, Mark Andrews as some trade targets that the Texans could look at if they want to go more of the receiving route on that end. Next up, CeeLo. Texans, what would you say is the percentage that we win the next game? That's a good question. We have a bye week, obviously, week 6. Week 7, we play Monday night up against the Seattle Seahawks. In Seattle, it's an away game, so that's going to be a toughie. The percentage chance, you know what? Give me a 50-50. I think it's anybody's ball game. The Seahawks are playing good. The Texans' defense is playing really good. I mean, we saw that Seahawks-Bucks game. What was it? They each scored in the upper 30s. The Texans held that Tampa Bay offense in check. The Texans also are allowing the least points per game in the NFL by a wide margin. So the Texans defense will probably be the best defense that Seattle's faced so far. Let's see how Sam Darnold looks up against this Texans D. I think it's anybody's ball game, but obviously I'm rooting a little bit more heavily for my guys in Houston, the Houston Texans. I think it's anybody's game, but the Texans, they got to show up, and they can definitely win this game on Monday night with a little bit of extra rest from the bye week. Juan Diaz. Do the Texans even need Mixon at this point? That's a good question. I mean, I've talked about it, before. Nick Chubb's having a decent year. And I really like Woody Marks, the rookie out of USC. I think both those guys have played well as kind of a 1-2 punch. I don't necessarily think the Texans need Mixon back, but, I think he would still be the best running back on this team if he came back healthy and came back kind of the same version that he was last year for this Texans offense. He was kind of the straw that stirred the drink for this Texans squad last year on offense. They struggled, but he was able to make plays out of nothing. Look back at that Cowboys Monday Night Football game last year. He absolutely dominated. So I do think Joe Mixon would be able to help the squad, even coming back later on in the year as maybe some fresh legs if the Texans are able to get back into this division race or, make the playoffs as a wild card team. I definitely think Joe Mixon could help this squad this year. What do you think, though? Do the Texans need Joe Mixon to return this year? Or do you think we're already good without him? Do you think we're good with Nick Chubb and Woody Marks? Let me know down in the comment section. Give me a yes, give me a no down below, and give me your thoughts. I kind of said it. I think yes. If Joe Mixon, if he comes back healthy, of course, I would be 100% down for Joe Mixon coming back to the squad, bringing some fresh legs towards the end of the year. But if it's like a 60-70% Joe Mixon, I'd rather see Nick Chubb and Woody Marks at that point if he's not completely able to go by the time, towards the end of this year. Good question, though, Juan. Amanda Pearl, hashtag Texans, do you think we have an actual shot at getting into the playoffs if we don't beat the Seahawks? 1 Toro head, no way. 4 Toro heads, we got this. Here at Texans Today, we love some Toro heads. If we lose to the Seattle Seahawks 1-4, I'm guessing 4 means we 100% make the playoffs. 1 means no way. I'd probably give it a 2. The only reason I'd give it a little bit more of a chance than 1 Toro head if we lose up against the Seahawks is the AFC is actually having a down year this year. You look, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're also 2-3. The Baltimore Ravens, they're 1-4. So the AFC isn't the absolute Goliath that it's been in the past couple of seasons. So that leaves the door open for a team like the Texans who play, the Tennessee Titans again. They play the Colts twice. They play the Jags again. And then towards the end of the year, their schedule gets much easier. They play the Raiders in the back half. They play the Cardinals in the back half. So that kind of opens up the door for the Texans. Even if they don't win this game, they definitely have to beat, either the Seahawks, the Broncos, or the 49ers. I think they have to beat two of those teams if they want a legitimate shot to at least win the division. But make the playoffs, I still think there's a shot just because the AFC, it's a little bit down this year. Oscar 713 with the question, #Texans, will Jimmie Ward start when he comes back, or will it be MJ Stewart? I think that's completely up to MJ Stewart. He played an awesome game up against the Baltimore Ravens, played pretty good up against the Tennessee Titans as well. I think if he continues on his role, I think you got to play the hot hand. And like I said, Jimmie Ward, he's very trusted by this Texans coaching staff. D'Amico Ryans, he was the first person he brought over in free agency once he got the head coaching job here in Houston. I think he'll have a chance, but if MJ Stewart's playing well, I don't see why you would go ahead and bench him even if Jimmie Ward comes back from injury. Stroud for MVP. I saw a video saying the Texans should trade for Breece Hall. Thoughts? Honestly, I think we develop Woody, and I completely agree with you, Stroud, for MVP. I would go ahead and develop Woody Marks because if you trade for a guy like Breece Hall, that's going to more than likely take away the opportunities for a guy like a Woody Marks. Breece Hall wants to be a three-down back. He wants to be that bell cow, and that leaves little room for a guy like Woody Marks who showed a lot of improvement, showed a lot of promise so far in his rookie season. I think he does a really good job at pass blocking. He's really good at catching the ball out of the backfield as well. I would lean towards not giving away draft capital for a guy like Breece Hall and see what you have with Woody Marks for the rest of the season, but that's just me. I know a lot of people are on the train of wanting Breece Hall, but not so far. I'm okay with Nick Chubb and Woody Marks and possibly Joe Mixon if he's able to return. You know what I am in on? Our sponsor of today's program, and that is Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks, it's super simple. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And we talk a lot about football, but actually, Producer Jack, I have a basketball lineup that I want to show the folks at home. I know I look like the secondary logo for the Rockets right now, but these are the season-long projections for Prize Picks. So not just football. They have everything over there. They have soccer. They have baseball. They have hockey. Whatever sport you're into, whatever, scratches that itch, they got you covered over on Prize Picks. This is the lineup that I'm rolling with for my season-long picks. Cooper Flagg, the first overall pick this past year. I think I'm going more on the 16.7 points per game with him in Dallas, replacing Luka. I think you're going to need to replace those points one way or another. Alperen Şengün, our sweet prince. He's been dominating over in Europe this offseason. 11 rebounds a game. Yeah, let me get more for the Houston starting center. And then James Harden, the beard, the former great in Houston. He's working in LA right now, but I still think he's good. 22 points a game. I'm also going the more on that. You can use my picks or go ahead and make your own. Just do it with our friends over at Prize Picks. And new, follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy their lineups, not just mine, in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just someone whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. So get started today with our friends at Prize Picks. Download the app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Next up, back it up, Terry. Back it up, Terry. #Texans. Do the Texans have the best defense in the NFL? If you look at the numbers, they kind of do. They are by far allowing the least amount of points in the NFL so far. And when you look at the teams that we've played that we've lost to, right? The Rams, we held them pretty low. The Bucs, they didn't score a ton either up against the Houston Texans. We have been good on defense. We just haven't been able to score the football. So I would say, yes, the Texans, they're one of the top defensive teams, if not the top defensive team in the National Football League. So let me know. Rank the Texans defense so far. Scale it 1 to 32. 1, you think we have the best unit in the league. 32, you're saying, nah, this is the worst defense I've ever seen. I shouldn't see anything above 15, to be honest. I think this is for sure a top 10 unit. Where you rank them in there, that could be the difference. But how do you rank them outside the top 10? They are by far the best defense in terms of opponent scoring so far in the NFL. 1TZ Cosmo, #Texans. Do you think Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel will get more targets based off the first 5 weeks? I think they do. I think they want to start implementing these guys more and more every single week. Jaden Higgins, he's steadily got the ball more and more. He got a touchdown up against the Tennessee Titans. And then you saw Jalen Noel. He got his first touchdown up against the Baltimore Ravens. So I think, the Texans would be dumb if they didn't. They spent a second and a third round pick on these guys. That's premium draft capital. So if you're not going to play them, what are we even doing here? You got to get them more involved. Nick Caley, I think he's going to do that, and they're going to try to work them in more and more as the Texans have their bye week here in week 6. Good question, 1TZ. Jimmy Mitchell. Thoughts on Jaylen Reed? Be nice. That's my son. Oh, congrats, man. That's cool. I don't know if he's actually your son or if you're just kind of saying that, but either way, congrats to Jaylen Reed. I do. I actually, funny enough, I made a video about Jaylen Reed in the offseason saying that he was the hidden gem, one of the hidden gems that the Texans found in the draft this year, and I still believe that. A 6th-round pick out of Penn State. He balled out in Happy Valley, and he was looking good in the preseason, was looking good in training camp before that injury. With the Texans, safety room where it is right now, obviously MJ Stewart has stepped up a ton, but with the release of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, that leaves a massive, hole in this Texans secondary that somebody like a Jaylen Reed can definitely come up and fill at that rookie spot. I think, he's somebody who definitely has a great opportunity to show his stuff and, be a part of this awesome Texans rookie class so far. Ursery's played well. Woody Marks, the 2 receivers. Jalen Smith, he's been injured on and off, but he's played decent so far. I'd like to see Jaylen Reed out there and see what he can do. I really would. Christian Tate here on Texans Today. Texans, are you back in on Caley being a good OC? I'll be honest, hand up. I tweeted out after week 3, fire Nick Caley. I'll say it. I did it. Maybe a little bit too premature. I'll also admit that. I think Nick Caley is slowly starting to figure it out. Now, it's going to be a big test because Seahawks, not necessarily the best defense, but after you play the Seahawks, you play the Niners, and then you play the Broncos. 2 pretty good defenses. So we'll really see when rubber hits the road with this Nick Caley offense, whether or not he'll be able to get it done against good defenses because, let's be honest, the Titans, the Ravens, they don't have good defenses right now. Let's see if the Texans can do it up against better competition. Then I'll give Nick Caley more flowers. I will say, premature on me for saying fire Nick Caley. Maybe a little bit heated after seeing my Texans just absolutely play like dog water the first 3 weeks on offense. Things are turning around, though. So I'm willing to be back in on Caley. You just got to show me something in these next 3 games with the Texans offense. T. Hardinger, Texans, who will we see first, Dell or Joe? I fixed it. Thank you, T. Hardinger. Ooh. I got to go with Joe Mixon. I got to go with Joe Mixon because definitely a less severe injury, right? Like, he's dealing with foot, ankle injury and stuff like that. Tank Dell, he had to get 2 separate surgeries. He not only tore his ACL, also his MCL, and I believe, what is the other one? PCL? Every part of his knee was shattered on that play. I think it's hopeful thinking. If you saw what Tank Dell was doing right now, you'd probably be very hopeful as well. I've been told that he's, been doing sprints, been working out in the weight room, been kind of catching balls at the jugs machine, stuff like that. So very promising for Tank Dell. But it's a lot different getting on the field, and once he, especially for his style of play, what made Tank Dell so good was those quick cuts. Him being able to be a route runner and, get the defender moving. That's going to be really tough with that knee injury. So I wouldn't want to rush him back. When Tank Dell's ready, more than anybody, I have a Tank Dell H-Town alternate jersey. I would love to see Tank Dell come back this year. It just worries me a little bit rushing somebody back from that knee injury with the possibility of re-injury when I think we have a decent wide receiver room already this year with the 2 rookies, Christian Kirk and Nico Collins. Kane Davenport, what's the most likely roster move during the bye? That's a good question. Most likely roster move during the bye. I would say adding another piece in the secondary, adding another, backup corner, maybe backup safety if needed. I don't know if the Texans necessarily make another move because it's an early bye week and you have a lot of guys that are getting healthy. I think once we get closer and closer to the trade deadline, we could definitely see the Texans look to make a couple moves. But right now, where the Texans sit at coming off 2 wins, I don't think they necessarily make a move during the bye. I think the move is letting your guys get healthy. Danico Autry, we talked about Jaylen Reed as well, among others, who could come back and help this Texans team down the stretch. All right, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for the #1 Texans channel here on YouTube. How many guys are out there doing mailbags in the Texans space helmet? I don't think a lot of them, just me. So if you love the Houston Texans, if you're a diehard, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% for free.